You know that moment when you're deep in Machine, you've got a beat going, but it just feels a bit static, like it's just repeating?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
You want to add some change, some movement, right?
exactly. But then you think about like automating parameters or setting up complex scenes, and it kind of kills the vibe sometimes.
It really can. You just want a fast way to make things evolve without a whole technical deep dive within the deep dive.
Totally. Well, what if there was a shortcut? That's what we're looking into today.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
We're focusing on one specific feature in Native Instruments Machine mk3. Our source, a really good YouTube tutorial from the sound test room, actually calls it, wait for it, brilliant and essential.
Wow, brilliant and essential.
Yeah.
That's high praise. What is it?
Lock states. Ever messed around with those?
A little bit, yeah. But maybe not as much as I should have. Hearing that description, they seem powerful, but maybe a bit mysterious.
Well, that's our mission today. Figure out what lock states really are, how they actually work, and, why this tutorial thinks they're so key for making your workflow more dynamic and, honestly, more fun.
Okay, cool. So avoiding those boring, repetitive loops. I'm all for that.
Yeah. And the tutorial uses a great example, just one machine group, but it's loaded with a really busy, complex pattern.
Ah, smart. So you can really hear the difference when you start manipulating things. It's not subtle.
Exactly. It sets the stage perfectly. So let's dive in. The basic idea. What is a lock state?
The tutorial puts it really well. It's like taking a picture.
Yeah, a snapshot. You hit the lock button and it just captures, well, everything.
And they mean everything. Like
Yeah.
across all your groups, all the sounds, the levels, effect settings, the whole shebang at that exact moment.
Right. It's a complete memory dump of the project's state.
So the first thing they show, the really basic use case, is they capture that initial state, the busy pattern. That's lock state number one, basically.
Okay, got it.
Then they just go in and mute, like several of the pads.
Right.
So the pattern changes, right? Becomes sparser.
Makes sense. Takes elements out.
But then you just hit the lock button again.
And bam.
It instantly reverts back to that original state. Everything unmuted, exactly as it was in the first snapshot.
Ah, okay. So it's like a quick way to jump back to a saved arrangement, kind of like an undo, but specific.
Exactly. Useful for comparing, like, does it sound better with these parts in or out? Or for creating quick drops in a performance.
Okay, that's cool. But maybe not quite brilliant and essential level yet.
Well, hang on. It gets deeper. That's just the starting point. The tutorial then goes beyond just muting.
Right. What's next?
Effects. They add a grain delay effect. And importantly, they add it at the group level.
Okay, so that effect is processing like the combined sound of all the pads in that group.
Precisely. So you can imagine on a busy pattern, a grain delay adds a lot of texture, movement. It's a pretty significant change.
Yeah, definitely more complex than just muting.
So they dial in the grain delay sound they want, and then they hit lock again.
Capturing that state with the effect active.
You got it. So now the lock state doesn't just remember which pads are playing. It remembers that the grain delay is on.
Yeah.
And all its specific settings, the feedback, the timing, everything.
Okay, now I'm starting to see it. So you can toggle clean state, effect state.
Yeah.
Just with the lock button.
Exactly. Instant A/B comparison. Or you could use it creatively, bringing that effect in and out instantly. And they mentioned you can do this at the sound level, group level, or even the master output.
Wow, okay. So anywhere you can put an effect or change a parameter, you can capture it in a lock state.
Pretty much. Think about tweaking a filter on a synth sound or adding reverb just to the snare. You capture that specific configuration.
That is powerful. But what if I want like 3 or 4 different versions, not just clean and affected?
Good question. That's where the lock state page comes in.
Lock state page.
Yeah, you hold shift and press the lock button.
Okay.
And it opens up this grid on the screens. Loads of empty slots.
Ah, so that's how you get multiple snapshots.
Exactly. Each slot can hold a different lock state. The tutorial says you can have pages and pages of them.
Pages? Okay, so you could really build up a whole library of variations for one pattern.
Totally. So they walk through creating a second one. They go to the page, pick an empty slot,
Right.
go back to the pattern, mute a different set of sounds this time.
Okay, another variation.
And then this is important. They hit update while that second slot is still selected.
Update. Got it. So that saves the current muted state to that specific slot.
Precisely. If you don't hit update, it won't save the changes to that slot.
Right, okay, like saving a file. So now you can jump between slot 1, original, and slot 2, new muted version.
Yep. And then they just keep going to show the possibilities.
Like what?
They make a third lock state. that has that grain delay effect active again. Save that to slot 3.
Okay, so original, muted A, affected.
Then they make a fourth one. They actually start by copying the original state to slot 4. Then they mute some other sounds and hit update.
So original, muted A, affected, muted B, all instantly accessible.
You're getting it. It shows you can build variations on variations, capture different ideas quickly without stopping the flow.
That's pretty cool. You're not just stuck with one alternative, you can have a whole palette.
And it's not just group effects. They show adding an effect, like a reso chord, directly onto a single sound, a single pad.
Ah, so really fine-grained control.
Exactly. And saving that specific sound state, affect it all into another lock state.
So you could have one lock state where just the snare has a weird effect, another where the kick has something.
Yep. Now, they do mention something important there about effects with tails, like reverb or long delays.
Oh, yeah. What about them?
Sometimes, even if you switch to a lock state where that effect isn't active, the tail might still ring out from the previous state.
Ah, okay, so it doesn't just abruptly cut off.
Not always. It depends on how things are routed, like pre-fader or post-fader effects. It's just something to be aware of when designing transitions.
Good tip. Something to experiment with.
Definitely. And then they show this really neat trick.
Yeah.
Using lock states to sort of fade effects in, they create one lock state where, say, that reso chord effects mix level is at 0.
Okay, so the effect is there, but you can't hear it.
Right. Then they create another lock state, same effect, but the mix is turned up. They hit update on that one.
So now you can switch between effect off and effect on just by changing lock states.
Exactly. It's a really smooth way to bring an element in or out without manually riding a fader or knob. Just instant parameter switching.
That's clever, like automating a mix change instantly.
Pretty much. It's very efficient.
Okay, so we've got all these states saved. How do we switch between them? Is it always just bam, instant change?
That's the default, yeah, instant cut, which can be cool. But Maschine has this morphing feature too.
Morphing, okay, sounds interesting.
Yeah, you turn on morphing and you get 2 modes, target and travel.
Target and travel, what's the difference?
Target mode lets you set a transition time. The tutorial shows up to 1 bar. When you select the next lock state, it waits until the start of the next bar and then takes that set time, like 1 bar, to transition smoothly to the new state.
Ah, so it's like a timed, quantized crossfade between states.
Kind of, yeah. But the tutorial presenter seems to really like the other mode, travel.
Travel mode, why is that?
Because it allows for much longer transition times. They show it going up to 16 bars.
16 bars. Wow, that's ages in musical time.
Right. And what happens is over that entire duration, say 16 bars, all the parameters, mutes, effect levels, volumes, everything that's different between the starting state and the target state smoothly blend and morph from one to the other.
Whoa, okay, that's not just a transition. That's like serious sonic evolution.
Exactly. Imagine going from a full beat to just a filtered pad sound over 16 bars. It creates these incredible evolving textures. They show a 4-bar morph back to the original state, and you can really hear things smoothly fading back in.
I can imagine that sounds amazing. Way beyond just cutting between states.
Totally. They do another example where they soloed just 2 groups and set a 16-bar travel time. The presenter calls it a really cool transition.
Yeah, I bet. Like a really slow breakdown or buildup, but everything is shifting organically.
Precisely. And they show a shorter 2-bar one too, just to demonstrate you can pick the duration that fits the musical context.
So you get instant cuts, time transitions with target, or these long, smooth morphs with travel. That's incredibly flexible.
It really is. But, and they stress this again.
Let me guess, hit update.
You got it. After you make any changes you want to keep in a lock state, whether it's muting something, tweaking an effect, whatever you have to hit, update on that specific slot.
Otherwise, you recall it later and, surprise, it's not what you thought you saved.
Exactly. Save your work, essentially.
Makes sense. Crucial step.
So, yeah, wrapping things up on lock states, you can really see why that tutorial called them brilliant and essential, can't you?
Absolutely. It goes way beyond just basic muting. It's this whole system for capturing and manipulating sonic snapshots, from tiny tweaks to massive transformations, and even morphing between them.
It feels like a really direct way to inject that dynamism we were talking about at the start. Keeps things interesting. Avoids the static loop trap.
Yeah, and for anyone listening who wants to, get more control over their Maschine tracks and find those cool aha moments without getting lost, this seems like a really powerful but also quite approachable tool.
Definitely. It's not buried in menus.
Yeah.
It's right there on the hardware. Very hands-on.
So final thought to leave people with. If lock states let you capture these different sonic moments and even blend between them smoothly,
Hmm.
what kind of really unexpected combinations could you create, thinking beyond just beat on, beat off, or effect on, effect off?
Oh, good question. Like morphing between a state with heavy distortion and another with delicate reverb, or blending completely different rhythmic patterns.
Exactly. What happens when you start pushing those combinations, especially with the travel morphing? What weird, surprising textures or transitions could you discover in your own music using this?
Yeah, that's definitely something to mess around with. It opens up a lot of creative doors just thinking about it.
For sure. So maybe fire up Machine, load up a pattern, and just start experimenting with capturing and morphing some lock states. See what happens.